What's up, guys? We're back in the garage and we got a couple snowmobiles to get going. They haven't ran in probably 15 years or so. So, sure, it's got bad gas. The carbs are all gummed up or have crap in them. So we're gonna pull the carbs off and go through those and hopefully get them going. We got a little bit of snow and it's supposed to keep going for a while. So hopefully we get to go play and enjoy the snow on some snowmobiles this year. Let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the side cover off so we can get to the carbs a little better if we have to. I don't know if it's really necessary to pull it off, but we're gonna try to clear a little bit of room. So we're gonna yank that off and give ourselves some room. Alright, so we got the side cover off, the clutch cover off, the belt cover. Gonna remove a couple more things here, get down to the carbs, and get them pulled off. Alright guys, we got the carburetor assembly out and we got the jets out of the bottom here. They're pretty nasty. Get the phone to focus here. There you go, you can see all the crud. So we'll get the jets out of there and get everything cleaned up, blown out, cleaned up, and pull the bowls off and see what the floats look like in the bowls. They definitely needed to pull it apart, that's for sure. You can see all the flakes in there. Jets down inside. The jets down inside look like they have a lot of rust and varnish. A lot of varnish, I guess. It's not really rust, but a lot of varnish on them. So hopefully we can get them all apart and get everything cleaned up and blown out of them. I don't know if I can get the camera to focus quite right, but there you can see, the holes nice and cleaned out. They were not clean at all. You couldn't see through them. You couldn't blow anything through them. They were all gummed up. So those are all cleaned up for both carbs, and we'll keep cleaning. Alright guys, check this out. Basically it's a before and after, but really one's just done and the other one's not. Usually I like to use like a Scotch-Brite or something to clean it out, clean them up real well. But I didn't have any with me today, and so we just used a rag and some carb cleaner and just scrubbed it real well. It wasn't too bad, but as you can see, all the looseness and all the crud's out of this one. And we gotta go ahead and do this one yet, and we'll clean up the floats, and we're almost there. Tip of the day here on this is when you're taking any of these jets out, make sure you get a screwdriver that fits in there. Like the slot is perfect. Like there's not a whole lot of wiggle. My father taught me a long time ago the key to getting these jets out. And the way I did this is I just dropped it down into the socket here and was able to use that to hold it, to crack it loose. You want to make sure you put plenty of down pressure on the jet. That way make sure you keep the screwdriver buried in the bottom of the slot when you're cracking it loose. Typically as long as it cracks loose, it's going to come out. There's quite a bit of crud in there. You can see through it, but it's not clean. Another thing you want to make sure is that on these needles there is a little, we'll call it a plunger, so to speak. You can see it goes in and out there. Well, one of them here is froze up, so we're going to try to break that free without ruining anything, and probably just tap it on the table here and see what happens. See if maybe we need to pull on it. No, it seems like it's extended compared to the other one, so keep tapping on it here and see if we can get it broke up. I did spray a little bit of carb clean down in there. See if we can get freed up. Maybe try some WD-40 here. Alright guys, so I doused this thing in WD-40, and you can see a few little Mars on there from the pliers. I was trying to twist it, thinking that maybe all the corrosion or all the gunk in there that had made it sticky. So I twisted it a little bit. The Mars are above where it goes into the needle. Even at full compression there, so should be fine. Probably not the best way to fix it, but you can see it is working now. So yeah, that has to be working, otherwise it won't properly shut your fuel off, and your float level is going to be off and everything else. So we'll now that those are freed up, or the one's freed up, the other one was good, we'll continue on putting this thing together. Alright, we got everything cleaned up. We're going to start putting it back together and get it slammed back in the sled and hopefully fire it up yet tonight. Now, in order to set your float level, typically they're level or a little bit past. So a little bit past level, I guess, would be more on the closer to the bowl side. These are pretty close. This one's really good. This one looks like it needs to be adjusted a little bit. Make them the same. And to do that, you just gotta push down the little piece of spring steel in there, and it'll adjust that. There we go. Looking good. It's nice. Now it's time for our nice clean bowls to go on. Got the jets in, everything's tight. Needles in, bowls in, pins are in. Now in some cases with the bowls on some carburetors, they'll have a little bit of a knot where it's raised, and typically that'll go to where it will allow the float to rest there. That way it can't make long contact surface area to get stuck. So that little lip, so to speak, or a little bit of knock in it will keep it from making full contact and getting stuck at times. Just something to look at when you're doing this, when you're assembling carburetors back together. Make sure that if there is an orientation, or pay attention when it comes apart. If nobody else has had a part, try to make sure it goes back together the same way. You don't have to recoil a lot of these things, just good and tight. All right, it's all back together now. So we'll get it shoved back in the sled here and hopefully make some noise. Easier to get to as well. That way if we have to pull back apart, it's not as much pain in the butt as it was the first time. See how much of a nightmare this is going to be. Alright, so we got everything on the carburetor back installed, throttle cable, the chokes, the boots, the clamps, everything's tight. We got the battery put in. We got a new battery for it. It's a new style AMG deal, not that acid nonsense. So that should be a little better for us. We're going to put the clutch guard back on. That way, if everything goes well here and I did my job right, we'll go for a little rip out in the snow, because it's still snowing and it's heavy snow, but it's enough to where we can go out and make a pass, just to make sure everything's running right and see what's going on. Hopefully, as long as everything runs correctly and I did my job. So we'll get the clutch guard put back on and see if it'll fire up. Alright, we're going to put a fresh set of plugs in this thing because we have them. And I tried getting this snowmobile running last night a little bit, just by throwing some fuel on top of it and thinking that I might get lucky and there'd be no varnish in the carbs or anything else. So since we got new plugs, we're going to throw them in it. That way everything's fresh. I don't know, these were new. I ran it last night. I don't know if it's, or tried to run it last night, but I don't know if they're going to be a little fuel log, because I had to run it with the choke on. It wasn't real happy. It was run, but it wasn't great. We're just going to change them out. Keep these as spares. We know they're good. I got a pretty good feeling about this, though. Pretty good feeling. I think Like I said, I ran with the choke on it last night. Getting all that crud out of there we saw. Pretty sure she's gonna run like a top. This sled's actually pretty low hours for 4,600 miles on it. Which I think is kind of low for this age of sled. Put the spark plug boots on there. Alright. You guys ready to see if this thing will fire up? Just to show the sheer barn find look out of this thing. You can see how much basically dirt and dust and everything else is on here, but this thing is mint. It's cherry. Alright. Well, I'm gonna open the garage door up and see if we can get her fired up. So at this point, I had gotten back from a ride down the road, and it was running okay. Still pretty much the same as the night before, where it would run on choke, and then you turn the choke off, it'd come down to idle, and it'd die. But if you were running it wide open, you turn the choke off, it would run fine. Well, when you have the choke on, it's just pulling fuel through that circuit. Well, long story short, there was the two rubber plugs in the bottom of the carburetor, and one of those had the idle circuit jet in there, the low speed jet in there. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't list my father on this one, and right away he pulled them out, and right there was a nasty jet. We cleaned that up and everything was good. So I pull the plugs out and make sure there's no jets underneath it. I knew there had to be an idle circuit somewhere. I hadn't had a lot of these carburetors apart, so I didn't know if those were plastic plugs or rubber plugs, and I didn't want to break them as they had been sitting for 15 years or so. So I didn't pull them. Now I know that there's a jet underneath one of those plugs, and the other one in the middle has like just a hole at the top and bottom of the stem, and those I'd gotten cleaned out through blowing cleaner through them, but the jet never got cleaned because the rubber plug over top of the end didn't allow anything to get down to it. So once that was cleaned up and put back in, it seems to be running really well, and hopefully everything that we did this year, we can put them away for the summer, and they will be ready to rock and roll for next winter. We'll have to make sure we winterize them correctly, hopefully find some recreation fuel, and we should be good to go. Thanks for watching. We're going to try to do videos every week, so don't forget to like and subscribe.